This was a little bit longer of a lunch break than we would have anticipated, I think because we took a little break and then they brought in lunch, but we didn't really miss much. I think we've all been looking at the charts a little bit as they've been developing. I had some good feedback from people talking about what has been covered, what hasn't been covered. We're going to do the timing work in a few minutes after we review what's already gone on for the day, what we've seen. A couple of people told me that I'm going too fast and they'd like to see more detail about where these levels are coming from. So please, if I go too fast in a specific instance, I'm going to try to slow down, but if I go too fast in a specific instance, remind me then. You know, so I don't know what happened just now, Mark. You're being stupid. You got to slow down, and I will. It's just that I've been doing this for so long that it becomes reflex to just reach for the right tool and go ding, ding, ding. And it is unfair if I really want to be sure that you're seeing exactly how it's done. So definitely please remind me. Meanwhile, let's just do a recap of the what happened with the pound. Would you like to say anything about?
Sure, we got 90 pips.
That's it.
Out of that 100 price projection, so, well, it's on the chart. Is that the 15? Yeah. Yeah, we entered roughly around 87, 83, right? Where was it?
Yes.
Somewhere here? I can't really see well from here. Yeah, somewhere here.
Wasn't it 5 pips above the high, above the previous high?
Yeah, the high was at 78, we entered at 83, we went up to 88, 70 something. I am just looking at it and telling you roughly, I can't see the exact number. Yeah. But on my charts I can see area of 88, 70. So 88, 80 would be 100 pips from where we entered.
Now, would you still be in that trade?
No, I was there only for 10 pips. Okay, no, I would exit this trade right here. We've got inverted hammer after a run up, and then we've got bearish engulfing candle. And on my platform, the one that I am using, if I sold, because that's what I would be doing, I would be selling at the closing price of the candle. If I sold here, I actually ran down for 10 pips. My platform actually had a room for 10 pips. On this chart, you really don't see 10 pips here, but also this chart is using different data feed than my platform is using.
What time was your platform? What time?
It's 15 minutes time frame. But it really doesn't matter what time frame you use. The platform has a different data feed, and on that data feed, I got my 10 pips. On this data feed, you didn't get your 10 pips. And right now, what I see here is another consolidation, possible consolidation, and possible like 2. However, if we break below 88.25, I would be thinking short. If we...
Would you also want to go underneath that trend line?
That would be a very good idea if we could break that trend line as well. That would be extra confirmation for our short. Also, this trend line can actually act as a support and can hold the price, and we may actually bounce and go up. And again, if we are going to break this top right here, I would buy again. And I would go for another 100 pips. Because if this is our leg, if this is our consolidation, another price projection, 100 pips from here to there, break that consolidation, we should get another 100 pips, or maybe 90. Okay, I think that's all that I wanted to say.
Okay, the 90 works. The 90 is fine, yeah. For me, I had a couple of trades in here as we've been discussing. I had earlier when we had that 50-34, I had my first little trade where I have to say I probably would have been down about 8 pips. And then we had that nice run here on the next 50-34 where we had support. Which way does this thing go?
Could you pull the chart over, your chart over a little so we can see the prices? So we will
Oh, sure, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize I was doing that. Yeah, well, I don't have the support on the 3-minute anymore because after this, it actually broke the close by support. But we still have, I have not touched the 15-minute chart since we took our extra long lunch break, except to erase the extension that was broken. As I said, I mean, I missed a little part of this trade in here when we broke the extension because it could have held. And instead, I wanted to break and then get in afterwards. So we did, I mean, we've had other entries. 5014, that's the one I didn't take. But then the bounce, see? 100-line bounce. So there's more. I got about, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of that trade. Break the sim, though, definitely got me out of it. There is another entry at this point with a 5014. This one, you know, again, we're in long territory here on the 50, on the 15-minute. I'm not that happy how it's angled down to the 100-line. It looks like it's trying to bounce a little bit too far away. But if you want to be, you know, if you want to be strictly adhering to a plan, there's another entry here for a long. As I said, there's always a flip side. The flip side would agree with Monika's short potential. I happen to have symmetry right where she's saying it should break. You know, she wants to see price take out that low in order to short. That would break the 100-line here on the 50 CCI, and it would give us a short trigger here, 5034, short. So that would be our first sign of the trend breaking. But really, since setting up these levels this morning, we have not broken any 15-minute support. So I have no reason, you know, you can say, well, the market looks extended, the market looks this way. Well, no, because in reality, the symmetry, the rhythm of the trend hasn't been broken since they turned the power on for us. You know, so I have to honor that and say there's no way I can turn my back on a shorter term long trigger until we start seeing reversal. Start seeing the reversal would be breaking that symmetry. I have had about 50% of the people in the room ask me to keep showing the Russell, and about 50% saying I don't want to see the Russell at all. So I'm going to put the Russell up just to point out that we hit that target eventually. I mean, again, the work is the same whether you're doing this on Forex, on stock index futures, daily stock charts, pork bellies. It's the same work. My point here is, remember I said there's no way I'm going to be looking long on this, even if I get little, oh, did I lose the CCI? No. Even if I get little short-term, someone's been messing with my colors, that's Carlos, right? If I got little short-term buy triggers, I can't do it because I had such a clear pattern of lower lows and lower highs. We had resistance here. And remember when I said since we broke the 786 support there, since we broke that, and I'll show you again, what I meant was this, let me point to it first. Low to high, U-turn. We're looking for the U-turn. And usually, once you break the 786, usually you will make it at least to the 1272. Nothing is a guarantee in this life. Well, not even death and taxes, okay, because it's the 21st century. Usually we'll make that. So since we were in that zone where we had broken the 786, I wasn't going to risk fighting that and taking long trades. So we made quite a, I mean, I wasn't actually in it. I pointed out, excuse me, where the short triggers were. But as I said, if the long triggers came up, I'm not going to take it, at least until we make that extension. And we kept getting short triggers. So that's really, it's just a matter of following this stuff. The fib stuff, the CCI stuff is going to show you which side of the trend is predominant. And that's really all we're talking about here. And we want to talk about the timing. And I guess I better make some space here so I can open my own workbook. If we're interested in timing, does anyone want to get into that at this point? Okay. Let me just take a second and open up my stuff.
But how do you do Eastern time and Central time now? All the same?
I don't know. Actually, I need to, yeah, maybe when I have it open because I'm not in the folder. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think I'm going to open the PowerPoint again, and we'll go back to the charts. It's nice and slow. If anything really exciting happens, will you smack me so I can put it back up? Okay.
We might actually have a consolidation
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, so it's a good time.
5 o'clock.
Hmm.
We will see.
Not your PowerPoint. That's what I was about to open. Yeah, and I really wanted to be able to take my time on this. That's why I didn't get into it yesterday. We're going to hear from Cameron, a little bit later today about that. I'm very interested in this health savings plan stuff and how it can serve as part of an insurance plan too. Okay, what did I do with that? Yeah, there. Okay, here we go. Okay, we covered a little bit about the squaring, the time price squaring yesterday and today, but let's do this in a little bit more of an organized fashion. There are two main timing tools that are used for this stuff. One of them is the timelines tool, which you can find on this toolbar. It might not be in the same, I have it in this diagram, I have it vertically. On my charts now, I have it horizontally, so it might be anywhere. Just find these symbols, like the same place where you have the symmetry stuff and the retracements. You have this thing, this little series of vertical blue lines. That's the timelines tool. And these are how I have the settings arranged on the timelines tool. You'll notice that it's very, very similar to the price retracement tool. Now, notice on this page, again, here are the settings. If you're not getting the same results as I'm getting, you might be still using the default settings that came with the program. These are not the default settings. So if you want your stuff to match mine, if you wanted to, I mean, maybe you'll come up with something better, but if you want it to match mine, these are the settings. And it's the same with the retracements, price retracements, expansions. The settings are in the workbook, and they're also on the video that was sent out. The timelines tool is used just like the price retracement tool. It's used to connect 2 points. The high of a swing to the low of a swing, the high of a swing to the high of the next swing. The thing is, instead of doing it on the price axis of the chart, we're doing it on the time axis of the chart. And really what it is basically is simple counting of the bars. The bars, you can't do this on, if you ever use tick charts or volume charts, you can't use these on tick or volume charts, because it's actually not counting the bars, it's actually counting time. But we represent, our bar charts are representing time. I mean, the bars, 15 minutes passes, another bar prints. What it's doing is, you connect, let's say, the high of a swing to the low of a swing. Well, it's going to take the number of bars between those 2 points and multiply by 0.786 and project that forward. Because what we found, in other words, instead of doing it horizontally, it's doing it vertically. It's the same thing. Yeah. Just what we found is that for some reason, the Fibonacci ratios also represent turning points in time when they're used properly. And let me just tell you one thing about timing work. I learned a lot about the price work first. By the way, if you're going to focus on the sequence to learn this stuff, learn the price work first. The timing stuff, listen to me, let your eyes glaze over a little bit so it can just be absorbed. Later on, get into the timing stuff if you're not up to that already. But the timing work, and the reason I say that too is the timing work is much easier once you know how to do the price work. Because you're looking at for the same stuff. And the price work is actually more important. The price work is more important because the timing work only really kicks in when you're at a significant price level. But the thing that I had to get over, my obstacle, why it took me longer than maybe it should have to learn about timing, is that I didn't understand that it's really, really easy. Because it looks so weird when it works so perfectly that I thought there must be some really hyper advanced, mental state you have to get into, like, I don't know, electrodes and drugs and whatever. It is really easy to do the timing work. You just have to practice at it. You have to practice and spend screen time on it the same way as with the price work. So the reason I'm laying all that out there is because if anyone is sitting here thinking, oh, I don't know, taking these ratios and putting them on the time axis, it's really, really weird. It's not. It's not. It's just, it's actually easier than the price work. But you should do the price work first, because that's more important. So our first timing tool is used to connect 2 points on a chart. Let me demonstrate that before I go on to the next slide so that it's real clear. And I want to do it on a 4x chart so I don't get yelled at. Okay, let me just pop up another one so we don't see what 15-minute Euro is doing. Now again, I like the 15-minute charts for the timing work because when we're doing the timing work, we're looking for possibility of the termination of a trend or at least enough of a pullback being triggered that you want to get out of the trade. You don't want to ride through that kind of pullback. So I like the 15-minute chart because if you do that, if you do the timing work on a longer term chart like a 120-minute, or I know someone who loves 135-minute charts. If you do it on a 135-minute chart, you're going to get such a vague result. It's going to tell you, yeah, you have timing for a high sometime today. Well, that doesn't really help. You can do the work on daily charts, and I always do, but that's not going to help you intraday. Well, a 2-hour chart isn't either. A 3-minute chart, your results are going to be, a 3-minute, 5-minute, results are going to be very, very tenuous. They're not, it's all it would tell you, for instance, if I went to, let's look at, again, at our 3-minute pound. If I were to have, if I had run timing here, let's say I had a timing factor here. Well, yeah, off this swing, the high was put in. But is that really pertinent information? Because how much did it pull back in relation to how much it moves on a 3-minute chart? I really wouldn't want to get scared that there might be a potential high there, because that might turn me off to my next trigger, you know? 15-minute is a good combination, though. 15-minute is timing that's going to hold much more solidly because it's over a longer period of time, and you're going to see a very clear time period where that's going to cut in, where that's going to affect things. And I know I mentioned this before, but I really just want to be clear on it. That's why I go with the 15-minute charts. So let's look at the 2-point timing tool. Here we are, those vertical blue lines, time lines. And as I said, here's an example of how to use it. Here's a swing, high to low. And all I'm going to do is go above the high and play connect the dots to the low. Okay? And this also freaks people out. They hear time retracement. Oh, you're not going back in time? That's ridiculous. Not really a time retracement. It means that it's this bar, this time, to this time, times 0.236, times 0.382. So this is 38% the number of bars here. The more powerful ones you'll see in the workbook, as I've mentioned, the more powerful ones, 0.618, 0.786, factor of 1, which would be just like our time symmetry, and the extensions, 1272 and 1618. So the first thing you do when you use this tool is you just get rid of the stuff that broke. The 236 and the 382 and the 0.5 usually are what I'd call confirming factors, and I'll show you what that means in a bit. But I'm not concerned. This is not like retracements. It's not like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How do I know if they broke? What am I looking for to see?
By broke, I just mean that we passed that in time. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Actually, it's funny. I'm not concerned that they broke because they're going to have to break unless time stands still. Okay? My whole point is you just leave, if you want your chart to not be cluttered, the first thing you do is get rid of the stuff that passed, because we can't do anything about it. You know, that was hours ago. It's not like the price symmetry where if it goes past that, it means the trend is changing. It means that it's no longer 930, it's 945. Because what we're looking for is several of these to overlap from different swings. For example, this is high to low, right? Well, another thing you do here is you connect low to low. Okay? Basically, you just connect the dots with this. Connect the pivots. We'll get into that in a bit, but my point is that I don't care about these having passed in time because I'm looking for a place where I'm going to have one bar with 3 or more of these lining up. Okay? So that's the 2-point tool, and I'm just going over the tools real slowly first, so there's no confusion about that before I go into like how to use them properly. Okay, next tool is not on that screen. It's on this one. Time expansion. This is similar, just like the retracement tool is similar to the 2-point timing tool, the time expansion is similar to our symmetry tool. And that's really exactly what it's used for. The time expansion tool gives us directionality in the timing. And I will show you what that means, but I just wanted to show again, I have the settings here. Settings are real simple for this one. I just use a factor of 1, symmetry, and 1.272 and 1618. The others are off. The others are shut off. So you can have any numbers in there, or if you find a way to put smiley faces, that's cool too. But you want them to be those factors. The third tool, I'm just getting used to using it, is Carlos's recent addition, the time and price projection tool, which really is just a combination of doing price and time, price and time at the same time. Let me take a sip here. We don't have to get into that in order to learn how to do timing. When it's pertinent, I will show you how to do it. But I have this set up as 1272 and 1618 are the ones that are on. I have the other ratios in here, but I'm really not using it. I'm just experimenting with this at this point. So if you do want to use that tool, I suggest you just put in the 1272 and 1618. I know this has been boring because I'm just talking about tools right now, but it's important that you have the settings correctly on this. I've been working with a few people in charts today, and I've noticed that there's some people who still have other settings, and they're surprised when their ratios aren't coming up the same way. So it's.
What does it mean, show perfect?
I'm sorry?
What does it mean? It says show perfect only.
We'll go into that. We'll go into that. It's about square. It's about time price squares. See? And there is a difference. I mentioned about squaring yesterday, but time price squaring is the easiest way to look for Fibonacci timing, and it's also the most powerful. So this is the first thing you check for, and I will answer that question, but it needs a little background to make any sense. Time and price squaring. Okay, we took this swing with the retracement tool. When I say we took, I mean I went from the low to the high with the retracement tool. And let's say, as you can see here, we got 50%, 0.618. This is just to illustrate 0.786, and our extensions at 1272 and 1618. Is everyone clear on where these support levels came from? Is that clear? Or is there anyone who's confused about that? Because that's cool. If you're confused, I'd like to know. You understand, that's the price retracement tool, low to high. Now, if you take that timelines tool, the first timing tool, and you take the same low to the same high, you're going to come up with the same ratios on the vertical axis of the chart. There's our 0.618, there's our 0.786. Not really concerned about the one right now because I'm looking for the ratios that match up with the price ratios. And all this means, the whole thing about squaring just means that if price comes down to, let's say, 786, in the bar with the 786 time ratio, that is a time price square. It's even going to look like a square. The more powerful ones are with the extensions, 1272 and 1618. We went over this briefly yesterday, but when time and price from the same swing come together, it's bang zoom. You have a reversal or you have at least a really strong pullback, and it could be very sudden. But the squaring, the key to the squaring is the time and price ratios have to come from the same swing. In other words, if I had gone back somewhere over here and taken a high and a low with timing, and I ended up with a 1.272 ratio here, and it came out with 1.272 in time and 1.272 in price from this swing, that's not squaring. Squaring is same swing. So each one of these is actually a square. I didn't put in 50% because it just was too cluttery. You get the point here. 0.618, 0.786 is wherever you see this intersection. And as a matter of fact, you can make it look like an intersection with the tool if you show the vertical lines. It'll look exactly like this. So you'll see every place where there's a possible square. The internal ratios, in other words, the ones less than 1, the retracements, those are not as strong. So I generally don't look at them. Sometimes, after doing this for a while, you'll just kind of eyeball something and you go, you know what, I think that 15-minute chart, I think that's hitting 618 in price at the same time as 618 in time. And you check it because it might offer a little bit more support than a 618 in price alone. But the ones you really want to be on the lookout for are the extensions, 1272 in price and time, 1618 in price and time. And the answer to your question, what does it mean perfect? A perfect square is 1272 in price and time, or 1618 in price and time. A complex square is when it would hit 1272 in price and 1618 in time. So it's the same ratios, or any combination like that, 1618 in price, 1272 in time. If you want to get really carried away with this, it applies to all the retracement ratios too. It could be 786 in price and 618 in time. But you know what? When you start doing that, you are going to have so many lines on your chart and so many places where price might reverse that you won't take a trade. So I like to focus on the ones that have been shown again and again and again to have dramatic, meaningful relationships and results. And I just don't see that too much with the internal ones, the small ones.
You mentioned that one of the time frames that you like is the 1.0, right?
Yes. Well, that can't square. That's why I said I didn't put anything here for that. Because there's no retracement of one.
So that's what I was going to ask is if one was important on the time zone, would you add one to your pricing?
Well, where's that going to be in a retracement? That would actually be 100%. It would be 100. The only way to do that is if you 100% retracement would be a U-turn that ends at exactly 100%. Well, that's not an extension. That's, you could look at that. I mean, I could leave on the retracements. You could say show the 0 and 100 line. You understand? There's no 100% Fibonacci number.
The only reason I asked is that I thought you said that one of the
it is, but not in squaring. Right now, I'm only talking about price time squaring. Okay. I definitely use that one a lot in the more complicated timing that will come up after this commercial. No, I mean in a couple of minutes. But for the moment, I really, the tape got fast forwarded or something. For now, I really just want to get the concept of squaring home. And the reason also I want to get the concept of squaring home is it's really easy to do, and it is the most powerful timing. It doesn't give you every timing opportunity, though. That's why the other stuff exists. But it's so easy to do and so fast to do that if you only decide to take one part of timing into your trading, it should be this. To the point where that's why Carlos put in the time and price projection tool. The time and price projection tool simply does this automatically. Now that you understand exactly what I'm showing as far as time and price squaring, if you take, I think this thing is dying on me. If you take the time and price projection tool and take that low to that high, it's going to put a box here and here. If you turn on all the other ratios, it'll put a box at each one of these. So it basically does the timeline tool and the retracement at the same time. And the advantage is too that, like, let's say this made a new high here. Well, that tool can be kept live, so it's going to automatically update all this. And the show perfect box is in there, show perfect only, because some people don't want to hear about complex squares. They want the versatility. I like complex squares, but only the ones involving extensions. If someone's going to start jumping up and down getting excited because it hit 50% in price and 786 in time, I'm going to be like, so what? So I don't keep that on. I have it set for just the extensions, but not just show perfect only. You can play around with. I mean, like I said, I've just been experimenting with that tool, but I suggest you only use that for the extensions. You know, the 1618 and 1272 squares are the strongest ones. So you will definitely see a dramatic reaction if that happens. You know, if you get time and price coming together on a square like that. But like I said, it doesn't always work out quite so neatly. Doesn't always work out quite so neatly, and the other stuff happens every day. The other timing relationships, and the other timing relationships is what we're getting into next, I think. Yeah, there's time and price projection tool will plot it for you automatically. I think I just said that. So yeah, you have a lot of information. Is there anything interesting here that I didn't say? Because I think I forgot that this sheet was in here. Time and price, yeah, here's your description. Complex square. Perfect or complex squares involving 1272 and 1618. These are the most powerful time and price combinations. Larger the swing, the stronger the square. And remember how I showed you yesterday about target overlaps? If you get a big swing and you have an extension, 1272, and if you then have a more recent little swing and the target, so the two come together, and you have timing factors there, get out the trade as soon as something is telling you to, once you've hit that target. Yeah, our earlier target example that I used yesterday, actually, it's exactly what happened. We had 1272 of this swing, this whole U-turn, 1618 of the more recent little swing, more recent U-turn, overlapped so precisely that you can't even make out, you can't see that it was a different number because it wasn't. But if you took this most recent swing, same swing where we got the price extension here, well, it hit 1618 in time right when it hit the 1272 extension of that little swing. Complex square to the pip and bounce.
Do you expect that to go up now?
At least enough that I wouldn't want to be short anymore. But I'm not buying because of that.
Okay.
No, I am not. This is counter trend if you buy there.
It's a get out signal.
It's a get out signal, and it's a you just made as much money as you possibly can from that trade signal. But it is not. It could still be blown through. These don't always work. So I'm not going to throw money at it then and lose what I just made. There's no point to that. This to buy here would be counter trend. What I will be doing though is I would look at, this is a 15-minute chart. I'd look at my 3-minute because it just is going to show me more swings and start to look for support to build. In other words, start to look for a pattern of higher highs and higher lows, so there'll be symmetry support, and then begin to look for buy triggers. So probably I wouldn't have a buy on this until somewhere up here. I'm not going to buy right at the extension though. That's suicide. Financial anyway.
If you're looking at the bottom CCI.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's divergence. That's you mentioned this, and that's when I said
No,
this.
I wasn't
Yeah.
but I wasn't thinking about that.
Mhm.
Would you not buy until that bottom CCI like crossed zero or hit a 50, 30, 40?
No, well this is the 15-minute chart, so it's okay. It's right now it's actually breaking the minus 100 line. Which, by the way, if you're in a trade, the break of the minus 100 line longer term is always a good, good warning that you're probably going to have to get out of the trade. It can be an exit signal all into itself. What I was pointing out here, I forgot though, I put this black line in because this is when I look for divergences. Everyone here is familiar with divergence, the concept of divergence between I'm missing someone. Oh, okay. The concept of divergence between an indicator and price. You see, price going lower, indicator no longer making new lows, indicator making higher lows. That's divergence. Most indicators show divergence way too often. And people will frequently look at this divergence and they'll go, time to get out of the trade, or worse, they'll go, time to buy. And the reason I say worse is because if you look at most indicators and you go back in time, you'll see divergence, divergence, divergence. If you bought every time you were seeing a divergence trigger alone, well, I think everyone here can afford shoes, and it wouldn't be that way if you just went for divergence. But when you have divergence and timing, CCI is saying, okay, you have targets here, logical conclusion of a couple of swings, time target as well. CCI is putting on the brakes. CCI is going, ee, and so that's kind of telling you this time, pay attention to the divergence. Not on the 14 CCI, that's too fast. You will see divergences there constantly, constantly, but on the 50. Price, time, divergence, make the target, get out of the trade, go to the bank.
What would trigger your entry up?
I would need to see on my shorter, at least on my shorter term chart, which, I mean, this is just an example of the timing, so I don't have the shorter term chart for this, but I would need to see on my shorter term chart, as this bounces off our targets, we'll probably start, it'll show up first on the 3-minute, because there are more swings in it, a pattern of higher highs and higher lows, allowing me to find symmetry support. So at least I have testing points for the concept of an uptrend. Then when I get, I mean, I already took out the minus 100 line there, get a buy trigger, get a pattern already, a trend showing on the 3-minute, pattern of higher highs and higher lows, and a trigger. I'm just not going to take, I mean, actually you're not going to get a buy trigger until you have that pattern anyway. So that's what I need. I'm just not going to buy, though, just because I said I had a target. You know, that would be great. I'd love it if that were actually possible, to be a cowboy like that and to go like, I just got out and reversed right at the, you know, no. What I do is, if you look back at the trade management part that I stuck in there, what I do generally is, if I'm still holding enough that I can scale something out of the trade, hit something like that, take off something. Unless I have a reason to get out of the whole trade. Take off a partial position, because that might actually get blown through. So I'll set a target here. It might get blown through. If it doesn't get blown through, then I've made every single cent that I can out of that trade. And then the balance, if it holds, the balance I get out when I get the trailing stop violated, symmetry, resistance violated. That's where I put my trailing stop. If instead I get a new entry trigger to go short again, you can put that piece back on. But the worst that comes to worst in that case is that you take something off at the target, it breaks, and you just make more money on the balance of what you're holding. So I didn't. I gave up part of the trade for no good reason. Well, you know what? Watch this stuff for a while. You gave it up for a good reason, because most of the time you have a setup like this, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to bounce. Oh, here's an example of squaring too. I think this was a complex. This is just a funny thing that happened. And I know I've shown this chart. I showed this to you, Michael, in Denver. This is a stock. I was in a chat room. This is an old chart. It's from last year, from July. I was in a chat room, and this guy was really enthusiastic about this stock. Really, he's hyper about it because it gapped up here. We were right. This was the day that I actually did this chart. And it gapped up. And I just, again, have been doing this for long enough that I took a look at the chart, just at the bars, and I said, hey, you know what? This looks like it probably is a target. So I went, okay, retracement tool, high to low. Yeah, that hit 1272. And then I said, you know what? I think it's more than that. So same swing, high to low, 1618. This is a daily chart, 1618 in time, same day as it hit 1272. In price, complex square. Complex square. Look what happened. I said, Ron, please don't buy. Please don't. Not that Ron. I said, please don't buy this. He goes, no, gapped up. I'm going to buy it. I said, could you just do me a favor, wait till tomorrow, or just wait until like this extension. He goes, oh. So he never mentioned it again, so I don't really know what happened, but. Yeah, but you can see what happened. And the thing that's kind of freaky about this, and it's going to sound stupid when I say this, is that it's good to learn about this stuff because this is going to happen anyway. You know, the fact that you do it on your charts doesn't mean that you caused it to happen, or that it means, I mean, this would have happened whether or not I had these nice lines here. So as long as it's going to happen anyway, you might as well have the stuff on your charts to warn you about it. When you get a complex square like this, 90% of the time, well, 80% with a perfect square, 90% of the time, you're going to see something like this. You're going to see a dramatic reaction.
How often do you think that those complex squares happen? And wouldn't it make more sense to follow one time frame and specialize in?
Yeah, I do 15-minute intraday, and I do daily for something that's traded. I mean, this was we were looking at this as far as a daily play.
Right, but if you took multiple Forex pairs, you could set up your program for the complex equation.
Mhm.
Come up. Any testing results on something like that?
Oh yeah, in the past I have. Not since I got into Forex. I've done that on other things that I traded. That's why I can say, like, a perfect square is 90% of the time. You're going to get a dramatic reaction. Since I've been working with Forex, I haven't had the time to get into the stats on it, but there's absolutely no reason why it should be any different. I've seen it play out time and time again, and I don't see it not working or working with any more or less frequency. It's sort of like a fact of nature kind of thing. It would be fascinating, actually. I would love to discover a security where none of this stuff works, because I'd want to know what's so different about it. Probably it's like the first time we start trading in some kind of metal from another planet or something, maybe it won't work, but I've yet to find that.
Is it the GAN group that makes some of that happen as well?
The people who are following it? Could be. Like I said when I started yesterday, some of this stuff is self-fulfilling, admittedly, but if that's how it's going to work out, then we all better know about it too. This actually is not strictly GAN. GAN does have the squaring concept, but this is fib and GAN together. Not as many people look at it quite this way. And really, I mean, the squaring, yes, the next part of timing that I'm going to get into, not many people do at all, because it looks too complicated, and again, it's not. The next part of timing, and I think I have...
You can't do the price square on this one, right, because it's a PowerPoint.
Well, I did. Which? This?
The one just before.
This one? This one? Well, you have it here.
No, can you use?
Well, it would have landed right here.
I just wanted to see that. If you
No, I can't. It's on the PowerPoint, and actually, I did this back then. You know what happened? I accidentally rediscovered the chart. That's why it has all the data on it down here, because I ran this in the chat room and then didn't delete it. And I was like, what's this? Reopen the chart, and I was like, oh boy, look at what happened. This was before the time price projection tool was invented. Carlos only has that in now for a few weeks. That's why I'm not used to using it either. I mean, we could always load the data and go back in time, but that's what would happen. You would have the box right here. Yeah, here's an example of a little bit of some other timing. There was a minor square in here, but it begins to show you, everything okay?
What period moving average you have on the chart?
34, EMA. And too faint for the screen, which I didn't realize. This is beginning to get into the other timing stuff. But you do have a little square here. What I found particularly interesting about this chart, this isn't that old, this is from February. Found interesting about this chart is that we actually had 3 target overlaps. Now, how would you look at those targets? Just a quick question. You see the price targets? How do you know on those price targets which low was used in the swing? Just looking at the target. The length of the line tells you without. You can click on it to verify. I can't now because it's in a PowerPoint. But the length of the line. The line is going to end right over the low that was used. So if you're used to seeing these U-turns, as soon as you see the low, you know which high was used. The preceding high. Here, see? So what you're seeing here is that there were 3 U-turns overlapping. Look what happened. Time off the short one, 1272 in price and time. It's a perfect square. Now I started to play here with the other timing tools if you connect the dots of prior swings, and that's how you use the other tools. You just basically connect prior swing highs and lows in any order. Any order, any highs and lows, they're standout. Because while timing's really easy, you can't cheat at it. You're either going to get the right overlaps or you're not. it is very, very, very difficult to make a mistake with timing. In that way, it's easier than the price work, because you either have a standout low and high, or you don't. The only way you're going to make a mistake with it is if you drop the tool at the wrong point and take one of the inside bars. But notice this. No special reason that I chose these swings. If you take this low to this high in time, well, 6 o'clock here, that was 100%. In other words, the same number of bars ahead. If you take this, where am I? The low there or the high? The high. Okay, I'm at a weird angle. Thank you. The high to high. Well, that's 50%. Timing, it has to line up within plus or minus a bar. This was a 60-minute chart. To consider this timing, obviously it's for a high because we're in a rally and we have the targets up here. You have to have 3 timing relationships within plus or minus a bar, and then the weight is on the one in the middle. So 7 o'clock, see 6, 8, 7. 7 o'clock. In this particular chart, you didn't even need the other timing ones because you had a square. But this gives you a little example of how you would start to add the other lines, and we're going to go into that now more. This was just a little preface.
So you took, on the bottom one, you took high to high.
Did I? Yeah, probably.
And on
Here.
the middle one, you took high, you took low to high. Is that right?
Let's see here. Oh, you know what? That's not going to work because if I stand in front of it, it goes away.
Low to high.
This one's low to high. This one is high to high. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the next page, I kind of put the rules down. Is everything still boring?
Yes,
Oh, okay. The market's waiting for us to finish this part.
we are going down, but
Okay. Well, we're going up. That's good because I had the buy entry. So at least I wasn't wrong. I don't like being wrong. It doesn't look good. Timing. Use the timelines to connect the outstanding highs and lows of prior swings. Outstanding means, if in doubt, don't use that swing. If we go back here, common question that people ask me, and they are correct to ask, should I use this one? That low. It's up to you. It's up to you, because if you're going to find a confluence in time, that's just going to add to it. That's one of the reasons why we look for 3. You either look for a square, or if you don't have a square, you need to have at least 3 of these lining up. So if you use that one, and you don't get a line, increasing the weight of this lineup, so you used it, so it didn't add any information, so big deal. Is it right or wrong? I mean, I wouldn't use it because it's kind of in between other lows that are more outstanding to me. That's the best way to do it, is look at the chart. Where is it pivoting? Where is it pivoting? Those are your highs and lows to use. But you can't use too many. In other words, there's no such thing as using too many. Your chart's going to be really messy. Right, Walter? But it's either going to increase the weight of the timing or it's not. It's not like it's going to give you data in the wrong place. That's the kind of weird part about this, is that you'd think that if you kept adding other swings, that you might put the weight somewhere else accidentally. It doesn't work that way. It always turns out that you're going to get timing increasing where it actually counts. There are some weird things about timing. Like, for instance, you really shouldn't, general rule I didn't put down there, you really shouldn't bother running timing, looking for timing relationships, unless you're in a clear trend. Because also, how do you know? Because we're going to go into how to use the tools to tell you directionality of the timing. How do you know if you're looking for a high or a low, if you're in the middle of the prior swing? Middle of the prior swing, meaning here. Are you going to look for a high or a low when you're here? You don't know. But I'll tell you something really weird that does happen. If you try, the next bar is going to have timing, because something is going to happen to establish a trend. You'll get timing. I call it getting timing for something. It's weird when you do that. But the rule to learn from that is don't, here we had targets. We had a constant pattern, establishing and maintaining here of higher highs and higher lows. So you had directionality. And there was no problem in running this. Actually, all this time, these two timing lines, these were in place by the time we had this high. So what, a couple of days before. The reinforcement was the square, high to low, which would have been about the day before it hit. That's really all you needed. But we had directionality. Just don't bother with it when you don't have directionality. Timeline tools, timelines, to connect the outstanding highs and lows of prior swings. This sounds stupid when you say it out loud, but it's really simple. Connect highs to highs, lows to lows, lows to highs, and highs to lows. Because you're timing for market change in direction. You are not necessarily, you don't have to stick to time to only connecting in the direction of the trend. In other words, you don't just do lows to highs. You don't just do highs to lows. You connect everything because you're timing for a pivot. If the market's going up, most likely you're timing for the termination of the rally. We'll get to that next. The time expansion tool is that 3-point tool. That's the one that you have to pay attention to the directionality. The second tool, is this okay? Is this getting too confusing or? Okay. Okay, cool. Would anyone mind if I turn the AC back on for just a minute or so? I'm getting a little hot up here. Thanks. Oh, I didn't ask you, Monica. You still cold?
No, I am fine.
Oh, okay. The time expansion tool, the second tool. And this one I actually had Carlos put in the program because it wasn't there and it was really necessary. That's what gives you the directionality factor. It reinforces the timing because if you're just going to connect the highs and highs, lows and lows, lows to lows, blah, 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 with the 2-point tool, it's going to tell you there's going to be a pivot then. And if the market is rallying, you're probably looking for a pivot high and a decline from there. But that's fine. But if the trend is just kind of starting, it doesn't really look like it's enough information yet to go, yeah, we're in a rally. Or if I wait longer, I'm getting close to the target or blah, 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 whatever. If you want to add directionality to it and also find another opportunity to find timing ratios, you look for prior swings in the same direction. So if the market is rallying, or you think it's rallying, find a prior rally. Okay, here. Let's go back to our Euro chart.
Actually, let's go back to pound.
Let's go back to pound. Ooh, icky.
There is something interesting.
Here.
Okay, on the British pound, what I can see right now, we actually have a very good potential for some reversal right now. Actually, Mark, can you make that chart bigger?
Yeah.
What happens here, we've got that hammer, that bearish candle that I was talking about. Then we retraced here to test the resistance here. And on my chart right now, I actually got a really nice hammer on this candle here, like on my platform. But at this one, looks like our railroad is shaping up, which would mean that probably we have a good chance to break the symmetry here, also to break the MKS3 and to go down for a few more pips. It's shaping up as a sell. We will see what will happen once we get to this point. It may actually go here and then bounce again, or what happens, we can actually go up and break this top. So at this point, I would have 2 entries ready. I would be preparing myself to either go long once we break the top, or go short once we break here. That's something that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I'm just looking here for a second. Yeah, as I thought. Note where it reversed. I was talking about my long earlier. I thought it was a little iffy, but still I had to take it technically. That was here. Was it? It was here. So we got a nice little, what do we get from that? Maybe 20 pips. Yeah, 20 pips. But look where it stopped, the 786. Stopped at the 786, because that's always, or generally, I mean, you'll be shocked if you just run that on each one of your swings. If you have a pullback and you want to buy, just do that. And if that was too fast, high to low with the retracement tool, because we're looking for that U-turn. 786 stood in the way. And that's just what you're going to see time and time again. And look, broke the 100 line on the 3-minute. Pretty sharp little reversal here. So I have to agree that this looks kind of icky at this point. This is the first time that we've had a buy in this today where the 786 got in the way. The high to the low, yeah. Actually, in case, let me just, I used to, when I do this online to show people, I generally draw a trend line to show that. But the problem here is I have like about 400 million monitors at home. So I can put my tools all over the place. Here I'm kind of limited. As soon as you hook up to this projector, it also changes your screen resolution. So I have to be careful that I don't end up doing a lot of stuff with the wrong tools. Yeah, I just tried to open my trendline tool and it opened on my monitor over there, so which isn't there. But anyway, yeah, see, I'll put the trend line in anyway. This is how you get what's in the way of the trade when you're long, and the targets, high to low, with the retracement tool. It's that simple. 786 is the deal killer or deal maker. That breaks, you're most likely going to get a target. And yeah, like I said yesterday, I don't do it, but some people wait for the break and buy the break of that and just scalp up to the target, which if you're doing that off a 15-minute chart, often is not a scalp. It's often really a nice way to trade, but you can also end up waiting a long time for that to set up properly. I'd rather know that I have to watch very carefully here. This is unusual, by the way. I just noticed that the 786 got in the way, but the 50 CCI was above the 100 line. That's a very unusual combination. Usually the 50 would bounce off the inside of the 100 line. Now what does that mean? I don't have a clue. I just know it's very unusual. Could have something to do with the amount of time it took to get up to the 786. Yeah.
It means you went up faster.
Yeah, or in this case it might be slower because the CCI had more time to get out, to get beyond the 100 line. Anyway, as far as short possibility, yeah, I want to see the sim support broken. It's interesting how your line and my sim are kind of coinciding. It's almost like squaring, That would break the 100 line here on the 15-minute. And we'd get a sell trigger on the 3. Let's play with this for a second, see if we have any timing. I was discussing, what is that? Oh, the magnet was on before, that's why that trend line disappeared. I was talking about how to use the 3-point tool. Well, we're in a rally right now. So with this one, you do have to be directional. The 2-point tool, you don't have to be directional. You connect highs to highs, lows to lows, lows to highs, and highs to lows, and so on. With the 3-point tool, which is this one, time expansion, you're going to look for, because we're looking for a high, so we're going to look for prior rallies. Well, you can kind of eyeball it. What you're going to eyeball, what you're going to look for is something that looks like it's approximately the same number of bars. But not only that, because we have extensions in there too. They're multiplied by 1272 and 1618. So I can take, for instance, and the rally does not have to be the same number of points or pips. It just has to be a rally. So in other words, you can take, in time, you can take low to high here and project it in time from here. Let's do that. Does that make sense? Because we're looking for time now. We're not looking for price similarity. We're looking for time similarity. Time expansion, let's go low to high. That's definitely, this one's longer. It's going to be past. Yeah. See, I went low to high in time from the new low, and you see that popped into what looks like the wrong place. All you do is change back to the arrow, grab it, and move it. This already passed. This didn't help. It might have helped if we were looking for timing over here. Nope. I actually don't see on this particular chart a swing that's calling to me to be for the 3-point tool. Let's take a look with the 2.2.